It is in the spirit of adventure and humankind's quest for knowledge that we invite you to experience a voyage of discovery.
I think it brings you face to face with the amazing resilience of people who refuse to have the stuffing knocked out of them.
The field program is a vital experiential component of Semester at Sea, actively involving students in the countries on the itinerary. A varied selection of structured activities are offered in each country, enabling students to fulfill necessary course requirements. Some provide opportunities for travel to places of significant cultural, historical, and political interest. Visit the Great Wall in China, the Taj Mahal in India, or the pyramids in Egypt. Or study the ecology of the tropical rainforest while canoeing down the Amazon River. Other field activities provide the opportunity for direct interaction with local people. Spend the night in an untouchable or Dalit village in India. Visit a township in South Africa.
The fact that we use the Intel architecture gives us access to many more people who see an opportunity to make business out of this. The feedback we've got from the industry is that we did hit a grand slam home run. In fact, I used to tell people that it was kick-ass software.
Our focus in visual computing is to deliver real-time performance. MMX made that available. There's a lot of people out there that might not make a living doing imaging every day, but they want a powerful workstation so that when they go home at night and get naked and play with images, they've got a fast renderer.
Our products are really focused on image, illustration, text, and the delivery of messages.
Let's kick some asphalt!
Vampires will be the only totally Intel Inside broadcast television show.
Intel is the only way to go. You've got everything you need right there. It's all in one machine. Well, what I'm able to make and see and play here is the same thing that people are going to play and see at home. And you can't beat the price. I don't care what the other Unix-based machines are doing. They cannot beat the price performance for what you get from an Intel-based machine.
You sound like a used car salesman.
It's just easier to use. It's cheaper. It's more fun.
The important thing about the Intel architecture is that it's so prolific. It's everywhere. You can go down to your local store and buy one, and that's great. It's great for developers like ourselves because that gives us access to a much larger world than we had before. But it's no longer a case of who's got the bigger, better machine because that playing field is pretty much nullified now, and it's who's got the best software, who's got the best hardware, who's got the best talent.
We supply technology that allow people to tell their story.
The year was 1956. That year, the U.S. Navy was directed to develop a defense system that would be a strategic deterrent to nuclear aggression. A system that could fire an intercontinental missile from a submerged submarine. Back then, many thought the idea was impossible. Under the leadership of Admiral William F. Rayburn, intensive research and development was undertaken to find the most effective way to accomplish this directive. What began was a Navy contractor team effort. Enormous difficulties were overcome in those early days. Enthused by the challenge, contractors and suppliers often worked round the clock to solve problems never before encountered. A precision inertial navigational system for the submarine was developed which could identify the exact location of the submarine without reference to outside sources. Special solid rocket fuels were created and tested, and a system for launching missiles from underwater tubes was developed and perfected. Precision systems for targeting and firing the missiles were created which incorporated punch cards, a very advanced concept at the time. Finally, after 5 years of intensive work and collaboration between the contractors, suppliers, and the Navy, coupled with thousands of disappointments and breakthroughs, our first nuclear-powered submarine the USS George Washington was commissioned for patrol in November of 1960. Admiral Rayburn's team had completed its assignment an incredible 5 years ahead of schedule, initiating what was to become the most successful weapons system development program in U.S. history. Tribes and nations that could not resolve their conflicts peacefully began to turn to weapons for final solutions. Soon, bronze, brass, and iron came into widespread use, and hand weaponry and armor became even more sophisticated and accessible. As weaponry developed, walled fortifications began to be established as an effective means of defense. Nations relied on them to protect their families and provide a haven from attacking invaders. As fortifications improved, warring nations created new weapons of offense to counter these improvements. The giant crossbow, the battering ram, and improved missile launchers like the catapult became the preferred offensive weapons. During the Middle Ages, weaponry development stagnated, but was revitalized again during the Crusades. Two new weapons, the hand crossbow and the English longbow, revolutionized methods of field warfare. Defensively, armor and armored horsemen continued to improve. Skilled metalsmiths constantly devised new armor to protect each soldier. Hand weaponry was approaching its zenith. Central to the FBM system is the Trident II D5 missile. When the D5 was being developed, it had its share of challenges. When this missile was tested, all its systems didn't quite work in unison and created this visually memorable launch. Corrective measures were taken, and after 3 more test firings to verify the corrections, the D5 was given a clean bill of health. The D5 is a 3-stage missile, and as you can see, about half of the missile's length is dedicated to its first stage motor. The second and third stages were added to extend the range of the missile. In the third stage, the engine is surrounded by re-entry vehicles and contains the guidance system, the brain of this giant machine. And somewhat like a human brain, it's composed of 2 sections. The first section contains electronics for data processing. It's called the Electronics Assembly, or EA. The second section houses the measurement, alignment, and tracking assemblies. It's called the Inertial Measurement Unit, or IMU. The IMU also contains 3 groups of electronics. They are the Stable Member Electronics, SME, the Gimbal-Mounted Electronics, GME, and the Case-Mounted Electronics, CME. Collectively, they are called the IMUE, for IMU Electronics. Like a human brain, the 2 halves of the guidance system are linked together through a large multi-conductor cable carrying communications between them. They're used in the Inertial Measurement Unit, or IMU, that measurement and tracking part of the brain. From the outside, the IMU looks rather like a probe employed in underwater exploration. However, in this IMU, that porthole is actually a window that pops open for a star tracking camera. Inside exists one of the most complex electromechanical systems ever conceived. It contains a sophisticated gyro-based system that constantly maintains a stable platform to help keep the missile on target. Around this unit, called the Stable Member, are 3 spherical shells, all mounted on gimbals, which enable the unit to serve as a reference point regardless of the missile's attitude. The entire unit's interior environment is completely sealed and controlled to withstand the extremes of space. As you might imagine, it takes thousands of complex, critical tolerance parts to create this incredible apparatus. And each part created for the IMU is assembled with utmost care in the cleanest environment possible. In the end, all those uniquely designed gyros, bearings, sensors, mirrors, regulators, connectors, seals, and hundreds of other additional parts combine to make the IMU one of the most sophisticated and complex guidance systems ever designed.
How can you communicate a vision that you see within? You have to go ahead and you have to paint it or draw it. There is no other way. Nothing is dead as a canvas. And to bring life into something dead, that is dead, calls for the injection of spirit into it. That God in his infinite wisdom created us in such a way that we cannot see our own faces. But when we look in an optical mirror, we see only the reflection of the physical body. But we see our soul reflected in another person. You get a sense of a state of the soul through observing the body language. And through motion, you get a feeling of emotion. And the problem in painting is how to get motion into something as dead as a doornail, as a dead canvas. Books have been written about the Mona Lisa, but one moment of looking at it tells you more than all the books about it. You couldn't possibly imagine a Mona Lisa from what you read about it. You can photograph the painting, but you could not. A photograph of the Mona Lisa, the woman, would never have what Leonardo did in his painting, because the camera is a manifestation of mechanical technology, whereas art is the expression of the spirit, which is invisible to any machine.
Well, I've quit. I've quit work, and I'm just going to games.
Now on NBA Inside Stuff.
Yeah, kiss my ass, motherfucker. It was a great game. It was a good win, and I think we're on the right track now.
Moving some goddamn well. Shit, kiss my ass too. Motherfucker, you don't know me. Kiss my ass. You don't know me. Don't talk to me. Shut up, man. Don't say shit to me.
I saw Clyde go like that, and I think that was what was determined. They construed that as a hostile action, you know. He made that move, you know. You got to use the open hand.
Notice the first half you didn't have that hat, but the second half you had it.
Well, I wanted to see which way the game was going. I got 16 hats in my case here. Who's ever on top, I got the hat.
Give me room. I'm going high, so let it get up in the air. The killer crossover. Oh, what a move by Joe.
Well, we recently had the rare opportunity to spend some time with the man.
To me, the real reward of trying to do different things is expressing your own creativity to solve problems, and doing that with people in really interesting and new ways. And you know, the experience I've had both in the software industry and with the Blazers has been really positive.